The biggest story of all that everyone's talking about.
An illicit tape starring Paris Hilton hit the internet this week.
She did this with a boyfriend, I guess.
This is not some random guy. This was someone
that you loved?
I thought I did.
You could see it was two people in love, enjoying sex and having a good time.
Her ex-boyfriend began mass marketing the color video today.
All of this without her consent.
Just felt so betrayed.
I signed a release to be on your broadcast today.
Yes.
Why wouldn't that hold true with any other thing that you would buy in a jewel case?
Everyone knows the tape is out there, but what they want to know is when they'll actually be able to see it.
I saw a little bit of that Paris Hilton tape today.
How many of you have seen them? I've seen them.
Are you really entitled to any privacy?
I just got the stupid spoiled video playset.
I've been talked about in such cruel and mean ways. If that happened today, it would not be the same story at all.
And I'm like, sure, of course she's going to tell you that because she was involved with it and she played the victim. She's made $30, $40, $50 million off of it.
You ever try to get a cut of the profits?
No, I have not.
Paris, you can sue me if you want. You know and I know what the truth is.
Is it like a blackmail situation?
I hate when people bring up extortion. If I say, I'd be very interested in acquiring your copyright, is that extortion?
I know the business psyche of sales, and that is to prey upon one's weakness, and I love that.
The year is 2001. Paris Hilton is only 19 years old, and she says she's in her first real relationship, but the man who's captured her heart is 30 years old, and he's a divorced father of two, and his name is Rick Salomon, and let me tell you, he has an impressive resume. During his teenage years, Rick said he used to make bank by working as a huge drug dealer. Then he said he invested his earnings from that into his next admirable career, sports betting. It's reported that he ran an early gambling website and that he was a well-known mogul in the industry, even though nobody seems to know the URL of his popular website. But besides helping people spiral into their addictions, Rick had another passionate hobby, filming himself having adventures with ladies in the bedroom, and then he would screen those performances for his friends at his house, which I think is kind of strange. I mean, can you imagine calling up one of your friends and being like, "Hey buddy, you want to come over and watch me f***?" But let's get back to Paris. Rick says that he had sex with Paris the very first night that he met her, explaining that that's the way it works with most of the women he's dated. And of course, once he starts getting freaky with this famous hotel heiress, he's keen to whip out his video camera and record some new footage to add to his personal porn library.
I just remember him pulling out the camera, pressuring me into it, like, "Oh, you're so boring. Do you want me to just call someone else?" I was just so in love with him, and I wanted to make him happy. It was like being electronically raped.
Needless to say, Paris and Rick's romance does not last forever, and the couple reportedly calls it quits after about a year. And for a long time, most people never even knew that these two had memorialized their lovemaking on camera. But once Paris lands a reality show on a major TV network, this footage soon resurfaces and makes a very public premiere. In May 2003, 2 years after Rick and Paris allegedly filmed themselves getting down, production begins on Paris Hilton's breakout show The Simple Life. But Paris wasn't the only one working on a career come-up because Rick was making his own business moves. The next month in June, Rick creates a new company with a couple of his buddies called Beverly Hills Pimps and Hoes, which was a classy little venture that is described as both a clothing brand and a producer of reality videos for adults only. Beverly Hills Pimps and Hoes launched a clothing store right on Melrose Avenue that featured unfortunate murals and classic staples for any wardrobe, like the Got Hoes graphic tee worn here by gossip blogger Perez Hilton, the explicit content advisory label on, is that a skirt? I think it's a skirt. The Pimps and Hoes basketball button-up, sported here by Michael Lowen, and the silhouette of Cupid shooting an Uzi on a trucker hat modeled by Britney Spears' ex Kevin Federline, or Adam Sandler, Ice Cube, or AJ from the Backstreet Boys. I mean, the list goes on of celebrities who proudly wore the Pimps and Hoes brand back in the day. But look, Rick and his business partners aspired to do much more than just outfit famous folks because they also wanted to release videos about them. A rep for the group said these ladies' men have decided to use their, quote, pimp status in a socially constructed manner by creating a series of DVDs and videos that shed a scandalous, controversial, uncensored, groundbreaking, and behind-the-scenes light on, quote, the saddest, richest, and hottest girls of Beverly Hills. So, it sounds like Rick might have been eager to screen his collection of explicit home videos to a larger audience, and this creepy mission statement aligns maybe a little too perfectly with the intimate video of Paris and Rick that is about to go public. Now, the first media outlet to mention rumors about a tape of Paris and Rick was reportedly E! Entertainment, and if you watch my other video on Pamela Anderson, then you know that E! is the same network that first shared the URL for the website where Pamela Anderson's infamous tape with her husband Tommy Lee was illegally being sold. E! Entertainment is also the same network where both Pam and Kim Kardashian later scored their own reality TV shows.
Keep up with the Kardashians. On E, we love you. If you can keep up with us.
E! is also the same network that right around this time released a feature documentary called It's Good to Be the Hilton Sisters, and it is the same network where Howard Stern's raunchy radio talk show aired, which was about to score some exclusive interviews with the players in the story. So, E! Entertainment has its tentacles all over this drama, and it's making money at every touch point. Anyway, after the E! Network mentions that there might be a racy tape of Paris and Rick, New York Magazine reports in August that Rick has been telling his friends that he plans to sell the video on the internet. But when New York Magazine asks Paris about this, she insists there is no video, at least that she knows of. And she calls Rick a, quote, complete liar and scumbag, saying he is a very sick man. People love to talk shit because they're jealous. When Paris is giving these quotes to New York Magazine, she's actually on vacation with her new boyfriend who is, wait for it, Joe Francis, the producer of the unscripted adult series Girls Gone Wild, and if you grew up in the early 2000s, then you unfortunately know what I'm talking about.
Warning, this video contains adult content not suitable for children.
So, given that Paris is dating the dude who started this company, it seems reasonable to assume that she's at least not opposed to this kind of explicit content. Next up in the timeline, we come to October of 2003, when a very revealing shot of Paris exiting a limousine makes its rounds on celebrity gossip sites and on pervy internet forums. But it's the timing of this shocking photo that led some people to question whether it may have been an intentional, bite-sized teaser foreshadowing the main show to come. That's because the very next month, a couple of news outlets suddenly receive an unexpected file, a video of Paris and Rick having sex. Now this very not safe for work video is a 3-minute highlight reel showing the sexcapades of Paris and Rick, and it's just enough to prove that there is lots more footage where this came from. So, who sent the media this intimate footage of Paris and Rick? Well, the news said it came from a mystery anonymous donor who said they may be planning to sell the tape over the internet.
The moment you knew this was all going to go public, how did you actually feel?
I was in shock. I had no idea. My manager told me, Entertainment Tonight just called. They have 30 seconds of you with your ex-boyfriend having sex.
People magazine reported socialite Paris Hilton is now starring in an amateur film, much like the infamous Pamela Anderson-Tommy Lee marriage tape.
Overnight, my entire life changed.
After this news breaks, Paris's team immediately hits up the press to respond. Her rep tells the New York Post, this was something that she did with Rick while they were dating, and it was something that was intended for their own personal use. This tape was never intended to be viewed by the public. Paris's parents, Kathy and Rick, also clapped back, making it clear that they're ready to go after anybody who tries to drop this video. They said the release of a private tape between a younger girl and her older boyfriend is more than upsetting. The Hilton family is greatly saddened at how low human beings will stoop to exploit their daughter Paris for their own self-promotion. anyone in any way involved in this video is guilty of criminal activity and will be vigorously prosecuted. Hilton fights release of sex video. Paris's rep said it's very obvious that whoever did this is doing it to hurt her. And she said the Hilton family lawyers are getting involved as of now. Hilton's lawyers are threatening legal action against anyone who distributes the tape or fails to destroy their copy. But even though the Hilton family was throwing down legal threats, that didn't stop some people from wondering whether this video was a planned promotional stunt, especially with the way some media outlets frame the news about this tape. For example, the New York Post ended its article on the video with a separate, off-topic anecdote about Paris Hilton showing up to a nightclub and then blotting her lipstick on a paper towel that she handed to a stranger and said, "Here, keep this. You might make a fortune with it one day." Which feels a little like subliminal messaging, scripted perhaps by a publicist. After the news teased the possible release of this explicit footage, the next month, on November 7, 2003, a strange new website called sexbrat.com posts a press release. It announces that it's gotten its hands on this footage of Paris and Rick from a source who is close to Rick, and it says it's going to be sharing the video online as part of a 45-minute documentary about the couple called Paris and Rick in Paradise, and it says that viewers are going to be able to watch that for a pay-per-view fee. The press release also manages to give a nice plug for Paris's upcoming show, saying Paris is scheduled to debut in December as the star of a new Fox network program, The Simple Life. The unique series will follow Hilton and her best friend Nicole Richie as they leave behind the comforts of their lavish lifestyle in Los Angeles for a chance to live a simpler lifestyle. So, you're probably thinking, okay, who is behind this sexbrat.com site? Well, this is where we circle back to the savage scammer that I covered in my previous episode on Pam and Tommy's tape, Seth Wachowski. If you didn't watch that video, let me catch you up. Seth Wachowski was this slimy little tech nerd in the adult business back in the 1990s, and during the time that there were all these rumors about an explicit, spicy, private honeymoon video between Pam and Tommy, Seth Wachowski made this big announcement that he was going to stream their video live online. Now, he never actually intended to show the video at first. He just wanted Pam and Tommy to slap him with a giant lawsuit that would get tons of attention from the media and then generate traffic to his website and create lots of sales, and that is exactly what happened. But after Seth's publicity stunt success, he got into lots of trouble a few years later after he swindled customers, screwed over business partners, and got investigated by the FBI, and so he ended up fleeing the country after the feds started looking into him. So, after such a disgraceful exit from the United States, Seth could not afford to risk everything again by getting involved in this new celebrity tape from this rising star Paris Hilton. That said, some of his old buddies in the adult industry back in Seattle, Washington, where he was based, well, they were fully prepared to capitalize on this opportunity. Some of Seth's old buddies included the son of his former mentor, who was a guy named Joel Eisenberg. This was a dude who had pioneered the phone sex business back in the 80s, and Seth had worked for him when he was only 17, despite the fact that he wasn't even old enough to legally call one of those adult numbers. But this old mentor of Seth's, Joel Eisenberg, was a guy who had pulled off legendary publicity stunts and who also got in trouble with the IRS for hiding millions of dollars in offshore accounts. So, needless to say, Seth had expert training in the art of scamming from this Joel Eisenberg guy. Now, Joel's son, Ian Eisenberg, was also privileged enough to receive the same shady education because Ian proudly took his dad's torch and carried on his father's legacy of deceptive dealings. For example, back in the day, Ian's companies mailed out millions of bogus rebate checks to people, and then when folks cashed them, they were surprised to learn that they'd actually signed up for Ian's internet service and then would be billed $30 a month afterwards. Of course, that led to lots of people getting pissed off, making complaints, and the Federal Trade Commission fining Ian for deceptive trade practices. So, as you can see, this guy, Ian Eisenberg, was bred to be a dodgy con man, and so he was the perfect fella to step up and take Seth's place now that he was out of the picture. Ian teamed up with the attorney from Seth's old company, IEG, along with a couple other guys in the adult business, and together they formed an impressively experienced team of hustlers ready to cash in on the news of Paris Hilton's explicit tape. First, they created a new company because it's always a good idea to start over if you've got a trail of shady ventures in your past, and especially if you've got a court order from the federal government that prohibits you from getting involved in any more scammy business dealings. These old buds of Seth's create a brand new virgin company called the Marvad Corporation. Next, Marvad needed a fresh face to promote their young venture, and so they recruited a guy with a proven track record of marketing adult products in the most effective way possible, this guy.
I know the business psyche of sales, and that is to prey upon one's weakness, and I love that.